One of the selling points of the Tesla Model Y, and potentially a drawback, is this gigantic panoramic glass ceiling. It is awesome for being able to see the views, especially if you're driving through mountain canyons or through forests. You want to be able to see up, and it just makes the vehicle feel airy and light because it's literally letting in light. But here's the thing. The real world and the climate throughout the year is variable. And so there are times in the summer when it's just too much light and thus too much heat coming through. Now, there are aftermarket solutions, and I have used one in the past where you unfold it. It's kind of like the type of thing that you put in your windshield and unfold, and it blocks out the light in the windshield, but it is for the whole roof. And there's enough labor or effort in putting that up that I feel like you'd probably set that up and just leave it for the whole summer. Like if you're in a hot climate especially, you'd want a product like that. But for us, we want it to be open and light most of the time, but there are times where it's really hot, or maybe we're really trying to conserve energy if we're going on a long distance trip in the summer, or maybe if you're camping and you're sleeping in the car and you want it to not be so bright first thing in the morning. So EVBASE reached out to me and said, hey, are you interested in testing out our electric sunshade for the roof? And I said, yes, I'd like to try that out. So they've sent me one for free of charge. They haven't compensated me in any other way besides the free product, and they did not dictate that I say anything about their product. So this is a third-party unbiased review of just installing it and testing it out for myself to see how it works. If you're interested in picking up an electric sunshade from EVBASE just like this one, then I've included a link in the video description below that will give you 20% off of one for yourself. So let's get started. Lydia is my lovely assistant today. Hi, Lydia. And she's going to help me get this box open. So this is the sunshade here. It's quite a large box, and then you can see the tape here around the perimeter. So we're going to get that tape cut by just going around here. Go ahead, Lydia. Right there. See that? Yep. And then go around cutting the tape in all of the other spots. And then there's one more at the far end. There you go. All right, so this is the sunshade. The shade itself, of course, is basically the perimeter of this whole thing. It's the frame, and then the shade, like the fabric or cloth material, is up here, this end where it rolls up. So this is the sunshade. They got some good packaging on there, which is good, because as you saw, the box was pretty beat up. But it doesn't look like there's any damage, so that's good. Wow, it's definitely a lot heavier at this end, which is where the motor mechanism is. Hey, James. The material, it looks like it's going to be the exact same match as our interior material, so that's great. So what I've done, as you can see, I have folded down all of the seats so that it's easy to get this thing in and then lift it up to the ceiling. Otherwise it would be quite difficult with the headrests. And then up here you can see it's a piece of metal bracket here that inserts in above the headliner. And then right here you have the motor, and this right here is the roll of fabric that is the actual cover. So first I'm going to put this in. Make sure you not do the same thing I was thinking initially and put it in upside down. It's really snug fit. You have to have all the way down. Yeah, you would definitely have to have these seats folded down to do this. And then this right here is the power wire. So I'm going to undo this twisty tie. There you go. You got some lead here, and there's another half of the wire, and we'll be hooking it up. Let's get the wiring hooked up now. This is the instructions that came with it. And while they're okay, they are general guidelines, and I prefer watching videos myself, and I did find a video online of a guy installing this, and that's what I'm going off of, and I will link his video in the video description below of my video. This is really nice. They included a fishing tool, and I really could have used this fishing tool when I was installing the hand show monitors, which you can see the rear monitor right there. And then I also have a new heads-up display or binnacle display that's right there. I wish those had come with the fish tool, because I struggled a little bit with the fishing of wires without one. And I wish I had gotten this first, and then I would have been able to use this for that project. In any case, it also has this blue bag that has a bunch of other things. So let's see all the parts that it came with. Okay, so let's start with the wires. So there's two sets of wires here, and this one is for plugging into the cigarette lighter port or the 12 volt or low voltage port, and that is over this direction. So you can see just around the corner right there. Now we actually use that port to power our test fridge. This is the cord for it, and it's often plugged in when we're using it, or we just drop it down there, and that's the test fridge right here that I'm filming on top of. And I'll include a card above to when I reviewed this video. It's been really helpful, but that's not today's topic. And so if we were to use this to power the Shade, then of course it's nice that they included this. This is a 12-volt splitter, so that you can plug in this into the port. So come around over here, Lydia, and you'd plug it in like this, and then you could have both things plugged in at the same time. And that's all fine and dandy, but potentially we might still use this splitter for other purposes. And I feel like if we have alternative methods for powering this Shade, then we should just use them and increase our options and later for other accessories we might want to use this for. So that's where this comes into play. This just simply plugs into the wiring harness of the Model Y, but the reason why somebody might shy away from using that is because it requires pulling apart the trim here to get into the wiring that's behind that, which is what we're going to do today. And conveniently, they included this orange pry tool, so that will help us to do that, to pry away the trim. So we've got the pry tool, the wiring, the splitter, more wiring. They are also including this blue tape, and I'm guessing this is just to tie the wiring to the pull tool to, you know, pull the wiring through the trim. So that's nice that they're including that. Then they included 2 screwdrivers, and I'm not entirely sure why there's 2. Obviously one's long, one's short. We'll see where that comes into play. I'm guessing that's needful. And then we have 2 brackets here. And so these are similar brackets to these brackets that are here on the back that came already affixed to the Shade. There's 3 of those, and you can see there's felt on the top of them. So these have felt as well. And then there's a screw hole there, and then there are 3 bolts that it came with for that. So I'm guessing there's 1 extra bolt for these if you lose one. And so these brackets are for tucking up here underneath between the roof glass and this trim around the edge. So there's going to be 3 across the back here, and then there's going to be 3 across the front right there between the glass and the trim. So let's see. Oh, and one last thing, they included this strip of felt that has sticky on the back. We'll find out the details of when to do that as we get into these instructions and install everything. So let's get started with the install. So the first thing to do is pull up on this trim. You just pull gently and then it just comes up. It's just a slot there that it's on. And I'm going to pull this trim up all the way around up this side, because this is the channel where we're going to be running this wire. So this is the wire. And you can see on one end of the wire it has these 2 connectors, and then at the other end of the wire just has this 1 white connector. So what these are for is to be inserted in series into the wiring that's already here. So I want to pull back this trim gently. All right, so I fished around in here a little bit off camera so I could find it, because I wasn't sure where in here it was, and it turns out it's right here. Now there is glue or something sticky along the edge of this, and I'm afraid that's probably inevitable. Unless you put on rubber gloves, I guess. So I'm just going to reach in here in the slot. You can see this is the connector that we're connecting to. And this is a pretty standard connector. You push on this tab right here and then pull them apart. And then this is the wiring harness from EVBASE. And so obviously you can't plug these in the wrong place. And this is basically just being inserted in series, just like that. And then we'll just shove these connectors back inside. And then this wire is what we're going to be taking up this slot all the way up to here. And then the next step is we're going to be passing this wire through, well, actually this receiving wire is going to be coming back through, and we'll connect them together up in here, but it has to come underneath this trim. All right, so this right here is the fish tape that they included. And right here, just to the side of the hinge, I've pushed it in, and it took a little bit of finagling, poking, but you can see it's coming out on the other side there. So that's perfect. That's what we want. We want to be able to fish the wires through this gap right here. So I'm looking at this and seeing that this is obviously short enough that the other one needs to come and meet it. But the other one is, the other side of it, I should say, is this part right here that is attached. So this we need to get up there. So I'm going to lift this whole thing up into place, then we'll finish wiring this up. So now what I'm doing is pushing these brackets between the head glass, the roof glass, and the trim. All right, so now it's just kind of on there just a little bit, but just there's still a gap here. And you can see this is where the wire is hanging down. So I'm going to bring that wire over this way. And now I'm going to tape this wire to the end of the fish tape here and be able to pull it through that gap. Lydia's handed me the camera so I can show you this perspective. And I will add that where I am, like my head is jammed up here against the glass, and it is really, really hot. I can feel an immense amount of heat right here. For obvious reasons, we're in the broad daylight right now. Okay, so right here is the fish tape coming over the edge, and it is coming down here right between, and then I have taped it to the end of that control wire that is the one that is on the control mechanism here of the motor of the Shade. So now we're ready to pull it through. Go ahead and pull on it gently, Lydia. And I'm going to show from up here. Go ahead and keep pulling, Lydia. Okay, Lydia, I'm going to pull down on this. There we go. Okay, now try pulling it through. Oh, hold on. Make sure it doesn't get caught on anything. Okay. You see the tape? Perfect. Okay, I'm going to lift this up. Go ahead and, you're through? Okay. All right. Here is the wire that's going through that trim, and you can see there's the 3 brackets here holding the edge. And I have not, of course, mounted the front yet. So the brackets are long enough, I just pressed it. And you can see it's kind of pushing up against right here. So that's as far as it'll go. So Lydia has pulled this through. Thanks for your help, Lydia. And this is the tape that we had on the other side. So I'm going to now undo this tape. Go ahead, Lydia. You can take off the blue tape. And now we can connect up those 2 wires and put all of the trim back together. And then we will come around here to the front and attach these 2 brackets, and then we should be done. My new lovely assistant is Lucy, who's filming for me here. So I'm going to switch this around, and we're going to get this plugged in now. So we've got the 2 wires. We can just, oh, be careful not to touch that glue on the back. It's just got me again. It's more of a silicone grease. And so we'll plug these in together. Can't do it the wrong way. There we go. Perfect. And that's done. So I'm going to tuck this in right here on that corner. No problem whatsoever. That was real easy. And then I'm going to just go ahead and push this trim back down like this. You can just see it presses down on that slot. Just try to align all that, push it down. It's really super easy to do. So now let's go to the front of the vehicle and get this attached up there. I have my 2 lovely assistants helping hold it up on either side, and I wanted to show you how these brackets work. So as you can see, it's an L-shaped bracket here with the felt. The felt goes up towards the glass. So right here, this of course goes up on the glass, and you can see as I slip it forward, it goes in between the trim and the glass. And now you can see this hole, and this is a threaded hole, and that's where these bolts come into play that it came with. Lydia's arm got tired, so she's holding it with her head now. Also, it got really hot in here, so we turned on the air conditioning full blast. So it's gonna get a little loud. So up here, we've got this that we need to align. So I'm gonna scooch this bracket over and get this aligned, and then get the screw in there. This was a little bit tricky to get aligned, both side to side as well as vertically. And so I found if I shoved this orange pry tool up above it between the glass and the bracket, it got it down to the right angle that I could address it more easily. And I couldn't get that on camera. That was too much work. Now I can screw this in. And right now I'm using their short screwdriver. I don't really see that I'm going to need any more tools for this project. So I'm not really sure where the long screwdriver came into play. All right, so that bracket is now tight, that screw, so I'm pulling out the pry tool, and now that's in there snug. And so now I need to come around over here and do the same thing. Thanks for your help, Lucy. I have just finished installing that last bracket, and now take this felt, and when you peel off this strip on the back that says 3M, you can see it's sticky right here. And so you'll stick that across there to make it look more finished. And now I've finished installing that felt, and you can't hardly see the bar probably at all because now it's covered up, but that makes it look a lot nicer. And so let's test it for the first time. So right up here are the control buttons. I'm going to just push briefly on the forward button, and then let's watch the back and see if it works. Look at that, it's coming, girls.
Yay, now we don't have to be hot anymore.
Yeah, are you excited?
Yeah.
This will be nice because we'll be able to just at a push of the button, open and close it at will. If we get to parking lot out as we're shopping or doing whatever out in the world in the sun, we can just close it really quick and try to mitigate some of the heat coming into the car. And then when we get back in to drive again, we'll be just push the button briefly, and then it opens back up. And what's cool too is we can actually push this button and we can press and hold it to go a very specific amount. And then if you wanted to have it go all the way, that's where you just push it briefly and then it goes the rest of the way. Now, I'm not really sure why you'd want to have it partially open, other than maybe there's someone in the back that doesn't want it open, but the people in the front do, so you can adjust it based on the angle of the sun or something like that. But yeah, I'm excited about this. When we're camping, we'll be able to just close it really quick. And as you can see, when it's closed. Like it completely blocks the sun, like there's not even a glass roof anymore. So I think it's the best of both worlds, where you have a glass roof when you want it and you don't when you don't. Just like that. Now, one thing that I would say is I guess a drawback is you can see the flange along here, or the bezel, if we're going to use a term from computer world and monitors. This bezel is quite large. I would guess, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches, and it's repeated, of course, the same on both sides. And then also the bezel up here in front is substantial as well. So you're basically losing 4 inches or 5 inches all the way around. So keep that in mind. But it's great functionality, and I don't think that that should be much of a concern because it's so big already. But you are going to be minimizing, when you do open it, you'll have a little bit less of a sunroof than you had before.
Close it. We don't like being hot.
Now, something important to note is that if you have adults in the back seat, often this might not be a great solution. Now, I'm 5'10", but I have a tall torso, so I'm probably closer to like 6 foot tall torso-wise. And you can see my head, maybe you can't, but it's like completely up against this, like this bracket area. This is where the screen is coiled up in the back. And so this is all the new material added for this screen. And so it reduces the headroom in the back seat, basically. Now, in my case, we always have smaller kids back here, or if we just have a shorter adult a little bit, and it's no problem. But just be aware, if you're gonna have tall adults in the back, this could be a problem. So, having successfully installed it now, I will say that this was a relatively simple install, actually. It came with all of the right tools. In fact, it came with more tools than needed. This longer screwdriver I never used, so where did that come into play? I don't know. And now I have an orange pry tool left over, as well as that fish tape, which will potentially be useful in future projects. If you're interested in picking up an EVBASE sunshade like this for yourself, I will include a link in the description below that will give you 20% off of your own sunshade. With that, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. You girls want to say anything on the way out?
Bye. Bye.